been thinking about the last video, and I've come to the realization that it's incomplete. I've given only one perspective, but there's another perspective to share. Therefore, I'll describe angelic sex with the addition of the perspective of someone in a masculine role, so that the account is more complete. This will be an account of sex between two angels, so I can give the full essence of the experience. So just like before, two beings come together and begin to share their light. Both freely give, each to the other, in willful surrender, except that, just as I mentioned before, one is in a position of control. There is a masculine and a feminine aspect on display, that which reaches and that which awaits the reaching. The male begins to share himself through his light, which is interpenetrating every part of his partner's form. He is in her, and she accepts him fully. Her light is also touching him and accepting everything he shares. The extent of the sharing is defined by the amount which each partner is able to offer and receive of the truth. As we grow, we become better able to share and receive truth, and so can experience greater heights of joy through this process. He explores her mind, and she accepts his advances, opening up her being to him, revealing her secrets and desires. He shares his truth with her, and she accepts all that he offers without hesitation and full of joy, calling him to share even more. Each knows the other with passionate intensity. She draws his secrets into her, and her secrets are opened to him. Everything he is inside of her and finding acceptance, and he accepts her by entering every part of her. This is an intense sharing of being. The truth of him enters her, and the truth of her welcomes him. Truth and understanding are exchanged at the deepest level. He teases her to her limit and beyond what she thought she could bear, but simultaneously this teases him to his limit and beyond, because she is accepting him and drawing him in. This is a magnification of the male desire to come inside their partner. In this way, his very being, in its entirety, comes inside every part of her and is accepted fully. She is opened up to him, and he fills her up with himself. Both are joyfully fulfilled and accepted. Both are healed and rested and blissful. If a human man or a masculine human attempted to play the male role with an angel, there are dangers to avoid. The angel will happily accept you in this role, but they will guide you away from exploring parts of them which you cannot handle. Let me try to explain the scenario of a human male trying to play a masculine role in such a situation. An angel approaches you, a being of vastly greater experience and power, a being who's seen and experienced things which could shatter your mind, whose complexity you are physically unable to comprehend, a being to whom your troubles appear trivial to surmount because they've moved on to challenges which would cause you to cower in fear if you caught only a glimpse of them. Their light interpenetrates yours and touches you at the deepest level, and you communicate your intent to play the male role. They see your thoughts and perceive your limited perspective, and your desire to take charge, along with your belief that this is the interaction whereby the greatest good can be achieved. They let you take charge of the scenario, and you begin to enter into their very being with everything you're capable of offering. They have to step themselves down so that you aren't driven into unconsciousness through ecstasy, although this would also be true in the other role. You begin to explore their mind, but you're limited by your ability to offer acceptance. Your acceptance is the acceptance of a being with far more limited experience. If you try to open up their secrets, this will appear so arrogant to them, so impudent, that it will be at once comical and adorable. How can you accept the things which bring fear to angels? These things are beyond you. If you succeed in convincing them to open up a secret, fear, or desire, you will be unable to process and accept it. This will traumatize both you and them. You will be traumatized because you've experienced something which you can't handle, and they'll be traumatized because they shared themselves and were rejected, and also because they will be confronted with something they fear to approach. This is a recipe for disaster. Minds must be handled with care. Thinking about this, though, the danger here applies to both roles when taken on by a human. You must allow some control to rest with the angel, so that you aren't exposed to thought which is beyond your capacity to process. This is true whether you take the male or the female role, whether you try to open their secrets, or if you call their secrets into you. Let them handle the extent of what is shared. Trust them, and give everything you can bear. If you let the angel manage the experience, they will accept everything you offer, encouraging you to give more. This is also a truly ecstatic experience. You will feel their love, a great hunger and need which they have for you as a being. This hunger will cause you to give the best of what you have, and along with their fullness of acceptance and the joy of their presence, will leave you satisfied beyond any ordinary contentment. You will experience astonishing bliss. They will invigorate every fibre of your being. You are drawn in by their acceptance, and you can also physically enter them in the usual sense of sex. In the first video, I didn't really explore the physical aspects of the experience, instead focusing on the spiritual and mental aspects. But the physical, the mental, and the spiritual can all be mixed in various ways. There are many ways to enjoy sex in the angelic sense, even for us as ordinary humans. There is so much joy ahead of us. At some level of angelic being, it is possible to choose to change between masculine and feminine forms. Remember that we are creatures of thought and explorers of consciousness. Male and female are roles we can play, and we can explore being masculine as a woman and feminine as a man. And both aspects of either gender can be explored with a partner or partners expressing either gender. There is a whole spectrum of expression in gender, from masculine to feminine, which we are free to explore. We are free to play, and this is good. These possibilities add to the confusion experienced on Earth, where gender roles are rigid and sex is feared and hidden. Remember that we are creatures of thought, and our Father, the Creator, is the ultimate original thinker. For one as original and brilliant as the Creator, static circumstances can be an anathema. Our Father is a great adventurer in thought, an explorer of consciousness. Together, we are on the greatest of all adventures. You and I are blessed with the opportunity to play a part in the greatest story ever told, as told by the greatest storyteller who ever will be. Our Father wants us to know Him, but to do this, we must be able to accept Him. The only way to truly accept such an original being is to open our minds, embrace possibility, embrace the process of growth, and seek understanding of the nature of His heart, because His heart will inform everything He creates. This requires the shattering of taboos. We must learn to allow and love freedom, but a freedom which is filled with His character, which is a loving character, a giving character, and an accepting character. God is no pushover. He allows us to make our own choices and confronts us with the consequences of our actions. He gives us tough love, a love which builds us up so that we become stronger and more loving, more compassionate and more accepting. I suspect the following: that God wishes us to know Him in all ways, so He raises us to Him. But He is infinite in mystery, so we can only ever know more of Him, not all of Him. God is trying to bring us closer, yet in many ways even those who are religious are rejecting him. The most obvious example is with sex. As a species, we are very hung up on sex. We're filled with fear and anxiety and pain and unfulfilled desires. There's such great confusion surrounding sex within the human race. We can't even admit to the things we secretly want. That's pretty messed up. Why do we attack people who are simply seeking to share love in unconventional ways? Why does this stir such fear and disgust? This isn't a natural or healthy way to live. The world would be a much happier place if our fundamental sexual needs were considered healthy and natural, and if we were encouraged to openly explore our desires and were willing to serve each other's needs with joy. Imagine a world where our fundamental needs were met with loving acceptance, where we let go of our fear and thought of sexual desire as something no less healthy than our thirst and hunger, and our need for companionship and understanding. The religious tend to view God with a sense of reverence, and this is fine, so long as this reverence isn't made into permanent distance, because this worship is a form of distance, a distance which can keep us from a full understanding and a truly intimate relationship with God. I think God wants a people who'll love and accept him so fully that they're willing to place aside the reverence and explore him sexually, to give themselves to him, and if they ever become capable of doing so, to take him in both masculine and feminine forms. Someday, we will be brave enough and worthy enough to share this with him. Why should he be left out of the realm of sexual sharing and joy? Imagine the scene. God moves to join with someone sexually, and their response is something like, "Be it far from you, Lord. You are too great for us, and far too good for these things. You're above these needs." As we are rejecting God sexually. We are incapable of meeting his need because of our reverence for him. So the greatest being in the universe has to be content with eternal blue balls because none of us dares to be so free as to break that great taboo. Our love must be greater than this. He deserves all of our love. We should give ourselves fully with joy. The person who first meets this need will have to be the greatest servant of all time. He will have to have such love that he willingly becomes the servant of all. Such a person must share in the nature and heart of God and be worthy of breaking these chains of taboo. Such a person must be willing to both reach up out of love and to step himself down out of love. This stepping down mirrors what the Father would be doing by engaging in such an act. It would be a demonstration of an internalization of the Father's character, the one who reaches down to bring us to him. I hope you found this interesting and helpful. I've added much more than I suspected would be the case, and I know that much of it sounds heretical. Yet, it's about time these things were shared, so that you might be tested as to whether you can bear them at last. Can you bear to extend love and understanding to all things, no matter how lowly or how exalted? I truly hope so. All the best.